Also, as it relates to quarterbacks who missed a large chunk of last season due to injury, Anthony Richardson, fourth overall pick in the draft by the Colts in 2023, had a concussion early and then had the shoulder problem that knocked him out for the year. They still almost got to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew at the helm. Richardson back throwing at workouts. And there's been, from time to time, reports and comments and just a vibe that this guy's fine and he's ready to explode. And we saw glimpses of it last year. But here's the key. Okay, you look great in short and T-shirt throwing the ball around, but durability, availability, and when you get knocked out for the season, barely into your first NFL campaign, that's at least something to watch going forward. Has he figured out the limitations? Does he understand the guardrails of the things that get him in trouble and get him potentially injured and the things that allow him to do the things that we know he can do and that we want to see him do? And the Colts need to see him do. Where's that balance? Because it got knocked out of balance last year when he got knocked out for the season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's the biggest asset in their organization. He's the crown jewel. He's the man. They need him to stay healthy. Their offense and what they want to do and his skill set, well, it takes them to another level with Shane Steichen's game planning and how he can orchestrate stuff like that. And Anthony Richardson, with his ability to stay healthy and on the field and his ability to run, not only with the quarterback design run plays, but the scrambles and all that, it opens up their offense. That's what's going to happen. It's going to make guys like who Michael Pittman Jr. is a really awesome receiver, but not a guy you think about 70-yard bombs and necessarily in that, type of thing there. But when you got Anthony Richardson, we got to worry about the read option. We got to worry about the quarterback power. We got to worry about Jonathan Taylor up the middle, right? All of that gets the defense to creep up. And now all of a sudden, Michael Pittman Jr. does become the 70-yard bomb guy over the top because it's like, no, the skill set of Anthony Richardson and what he does improves our offense. We know that. They got a good O-line. They got one of the best running backs in the game. So, yeah, Richardson, a little bit like Joe Burrow, Mike, he's got to go back to the lab, too, and figure out what he needs to do to take the punishment of what's going to be expected of him. His life is a little different than Joe Burrow, right? He's expected physically to do some things that, the drop-back pocket quarterbacks aren't going to do. And because of that, hey, you might have to weight train a little bit differently. You might have to be a little bit more like, hey, I got to actually put some weight on here today and try to actually thicken up through my shoulders and stuff like that. So another one, I'll be interested. But, yeah, they need him, and we know he's got some special skills to bring to the table that we all want to see.
It's hard to tell when a guy's not in pads, but the video that we showed of Anthony Richardson, and feel free to play it again, it's not absolutely critical that it be shown. He looks a little larger than last year, doesn't he? Does he look a little larger to you?
His legs definitely do. He looks like his legs are thick, and for sure. I'd like to see him without a sleeve on so I could see it. But, yeah, it does look larger to me. I will say that. I think he looks thicker there. So hopefully he finds that right mix. And as we know, it was a shoulder injury. That's always scary, right? And especially for a guy who we know is going to try to break a tackle and get around the edge, and he might lower his shoulder. All right, but that's the thing to watch for. You're right. This is a rookie year. Damn, he got hurt already, and he's used to being kind of the alpha. I can take on anybody, and we know it's a different animal in the NFL who's coming after you to tackle you. So hopefully he can stay healthy and they can do the right things to keep him on the right track.
And a lot of it's coaching, just hammering into the idea of when to get down, when to throw the ball away. Some guys know it instinctively. Some guys, they have to hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it some more. And some guys hear it over and over again, and they still, once the competitive juices have fully taken over, they can't change the way they've always played, even if it puts them in bad positions. And for the Colts, they have to feel cursed because they had the whole Andrew Luck thing injured over and over and over again to the point where he decided, I'm done, I'm out. And now 1 year into Anthony Richardson, the Colts have to be thinking, is Andrew Luck all over again?
It is kind of. They've been cursed at quarterback. I'll say that. Between Phillip Rivers and Carson Wentz and everything that's gone on there, it has not been easy for Indianapolis in the quarterback situation. I ask you, what do you think of the Colts? Right? What's your thought of them? When I bring them up and ask you that question and where they kind of stand in the hierarchy of the AFC South and the AFC in general, right? I mean, I'll give you my 2 cents and let you think about it because I'm putting you on the spot here. But, like, right, like they're one of those teams where I know they're good, but it's like how good, right? It's like is their offense going to be able to be dominant and take over games here? And be one of these things that can control the clock and make big plays and kind of do whatever they want, right? You know, their defense is solid but not great. One of my things that I talked about on my podcast, and we've talked about this with them before, do they got enough splash players on defense? There's some guys that can make some plays in some big moments to close out a game, do any of that. Hopefully Latu, their first-round pick, can do that, DeForest Buckner. But, yeah, those are some of my concerns and thoughts where it's like, Mike, I guess I feel a little bit like almost the Buffalo Bills with the Colts in some ways. Right? Like a really good team, the meat and potatoes are there. Is there enough sizzle, right? I guess that's what I worry about, and I think that's where Anthony Richardson staying healthy is important because he adds a lot of sizzle to their team.
He'll create the sizzle. He'll turn
that's what I mean. Other
skill
guys.
Position players
right.
have no reason to sizzle into sizzlers.
Right.
Here's the first thing I thought of.
Right.
Here's the first thing I thought of when you said that.
Yeah.
And back when I was a kid, and here comes the piano, like we didn't have all the various distractions and diversions we have today. It was 3 TV channels.
Yeah.
It was the electric football game that was a pain in the ass, and you gave up on that. It was football cards, and it was let's get a couple boxes of dominoes, and let's stand them up and line them up all around the house, up the steps, down the steps, and, you flick the first one, and they all ideally fall perfectly, and then it ends, and then it's like, that was great, now I got to clean all this crap up. I say that because I feel like every team out there, if the dominoes line up just right for them and stay lined up, they could win it all, or at a minimum make a deep playoff run. And I feel like the Colts, the past 6 years, just haven't been able to get the dominoes even remotely lined up. Them and the Chargers, 2 teams that's like, you kind of got the pieces, but you can't get them all in place at the right time to go do what needs to be done. And that's what's got to be frustrating to so many of these teams. There are so many teams that could be highly competitive. And it's just, does it all line up? Does it all work out? Do your key players stay healthy? Do you get a nice little lucky bounce at the right time just when you need it? Do you get... After you get your asses kicked and humiliated on Christmas Day in your own building and it feels like, holy crap, the Chiefs might not even make the playoffs, do you draw an opponent that lost its starting quarterback a month and a half ago?
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's just weird stuff like that, and it feels like the Colts just can't catch a break and can't get the dominoes lined up the right way.
No, you're right. I hear you. It seems to be always one thing that's, it's major. As we know, and they've had to deal with that, certainly. But, yeah, they're close. They really are close. But that AFC South in general, man, it's an interesting division. I kind of feel like that about the whole division, right? We know the Texans are the king right now, but I do have a part of me that goes, wait, the Texans, year 2, everything was so great last year, right? They got a bullseye on them now. They got C.J. Stroud, right? My son thinks he's him along with Mahomes. Right, so it's expectations. How do they handle that? They're very young, so that's something I'm interested to see. I think Tennessee's a little bit better than people realize, and we know Jacksonville's got talent. It's an interesting division. It really is. It's one where you can almost go, I feel like any of them can win it, right? And I'm not sure exactly how good or dominant any of them will be either, right? I clearly realize Houston's probably the best team, but like I said, there's some things there too that I worry about, in my history of football and being in those situations.
But just the fact that Houston is regarded as the best team, a year after they were the one team we would have looked at in the AFC, and this wasn't some hot take, this was low-hanging fruit. They got no chance of making it to the playoffs. It shows you how quickly things can turn around if things line up your way. And the dominoes were lined up differently last year for the Texans than they're going to be this year. Last year, no one was paying attention. Last year, every game except the last one was 1 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. And coaches love that. It's routine. It's the same. They're going about their business. Nobody's paying attention. No sudden moves. No big crowds. No high expectations. We're just going about our business. We're going about our business. This year, Wait till that schedule comes out and you see 6 Texans games in prime time. We already know who they're going to play.
Right.
It's funny, though, for so many people, it doesn't crystallize how tough a schedule is going to be until you see it, until it drops on your desk, and you look at week 1, week 2, all the way until week 18. It's like, holy crap, this is a tough schedule. We already knew who the opponents are. They have a tough schedule this year.
Yes, they do.
And look, we always walk this fine line because the social media crowd gets mad when you say, hey, C.J. Stroud maybe should be in Houston and not, going all over the place with Micah Parsons.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, young,
it's time to work.
Of it. Right.
It's different.
Yeah, I hear
it's
you.
a different dynamic.
Right.
Everybody loves you now.
Right.
When no one's paying attention to you and they think you suck, it's easy to get a chip on your shoulder. Now everybody's saying how great you are. Yep. That's going to be the challenge for D'Amico Ryans. It's 180 from last year.
Right. That's what I mean. Now J.J. Watt's raising his hand. I want to play for the Texans. Right. I mean, life's changed. You're right. Right, exactly. That's where I find the division of the AFC South very interesting. It's also a little bit of the what if quarterback division, right? It's just like, well, what if Levis continues to grow this year in Tennessee? Ooh, Tennessee. Ooh, Calvin Ridley, Hopkins. We know their run game with the Callahan family is going to be good, right? I mean that. Of course, the what if with Anthony Richardson we hit on, and then what if Trevor Lawrence looks like the guy he looked like 2 years ago when he looked like he was one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the game, and he's healthy and they can block for him this year, right? Like, what are they going to look like? So it's a very interesting division. I think there's talent across the board. They're all good teams. I don't think we look at any of these 4 teams and go, they stink, or like we said last year, that team can't make the playoffs. I wouldn't say that about any of them, right? There might be one I might favor more than the other, but altogether, I think it is going to be an interesting year in that division.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.